once I close.
Hello, this is Jill Slinker, the Director of the Department of Student Programs for the Indiana Association of School Principals. Thank you for agreeing to proctor the academic Super Bowl this year. This webinar will lead you through the process. This year, along with the students answering on a paper answer sheet, you will be entering their answers on an electronic answer sheet as well. This process will dramatically cut down on the time that it takes to determine state results by helping us to resolve any conflicts with questions quickly. I'm going to go over for you two basic parts. I've broken it down into your basic responsibilities as a proctor and a step-by-step guide on how to run the electronic answer sheets used at your site. So, your first responsibility as proctor is to check the students who sign into your round against the official roster at your table. Students may only compete in 2 subject rounds and then also the interdisciplinary round. You'll need to have students sign in on the top of the paper answer sheet and indicate the captain. If there are substitutions after question 12, you'll need to sign in the substitutes by initialing next to their names on the registration form and then have them sign the answer sheet in the spaces provided. If the student's name does not appear on the squad list on the roster, contact the scorekeeper immediately. Do not let them answer any questions. A non-eligible competitor will cause the squad to be disqualified. If you catch this before they compete, the person can be replaced by a qualified squad member, or the team can compete short a member and not get disqualified for the competition. Here are the 2 sheets that I was talking about. The students will actually be entering their answers on the paper answer sheet. Right? When the students first sit down at your table, you will need to check their names against the copy of the official roster which you have at the table. So make sure that their name is on the roster. Make sure that they are checked for the round that you are proctoring. And then make sure that their name gets to the lines on the answer sheet. Make sure that they are also checked for no more than 2 subject area rounds and possibly the interdisciplinary round. After question 12, all students except the captain may choose to sub out, and then the subs must sign in following the same procedure that the original team members did. The minimum number of competitors per squad per round is 1. 3 may compete at a time in the subject area rounds and 4 at a time during the ID round. First of all, if you are proctoring the math, the science, or the interdisciplinary rounds, this screen will appear before the round starts. Please make sure to check the calculators that the students have brought with them to the table. There are only 2 models that are acceptable. If they have another one, raise your hand for a procedural official before the round begins. The 2 acceptable calculators are the TI-30XA and the TI-30X2S. If a student has an unacceptable calculator, raise your hand, and if that student has an acceptable backup, it can be switched out and you can be allowed to replace that. They can compete without a calculator during these rounds. In no round is it acceptable for a student to have a smartwatch or a device or phone with them at the table. Make sure to check for this at the beginning of the round. Now, materials that they can have at the table and that they will have at the table. When you sit down, you should have rosters, answer sheets, scrap paper, pencils, red pens, those red pens are for you, and any necessary handouts. If there are charts or tables to distribute in your round, you will have those at the table as well. Those handouts generally only appear in the math, science, and ID rounds. If you do have those to hand out, the MC will instruct you to do so before you begin your round. Now, when you're proctoring a round, please make your way quickly to your table when you are called for so that you can familiarize yourself with the materials that are there and the electronic score sheet that you will be using. Because new this year, you will also have an electronic device at that table to enter the contestant's answer for the score keepers. Now, I will give you step-by-step instructions for accessing each individual round on a slide that's coming up in the Keeping Scores Electronically section. And that material will also be printed at your contest table. So you don't have to memorize this right now. The instructions will be there for you. So, communication. During the round, students may not orally confer with the other squad members until the reader says begin after each question. Only written communication is allowed before the word begin. You will have scrap paper available at each table for the students. Now, no notes, formulas, etc. may be written on any paper or entered into any calculator by any member of the squad until the reader begins the first question. If this is the first round of the evening, that will be a practice question, and that's fine. That counts as well. As soon as that first question is started, then the team members can write down anything that they would like to, and they may continue to write down materials throughout the competition. Now, once a round has begun, they can write down any information at any time for the remainder of the round. If an infraction of the rule occurs, the proctor will warn the squad captain and remind the squad of the rule. If the squad continues to confer vocally before the word begin, then the proctor will notify the host, who will call the procedural committee. Now, remember, the students will often come to the table, and as soon as that first question is read, they'll write down a chart and label it A, B, C, D, and during the process, you might find them pointing at the right answer. That's perfectly fine as long as they don't talk before the word begin. So, here's the more complex part, keeping score electronically. This may look daunting at first, but once you do a practice question or two, you'll see how smoothly it should go. Remember, the students will be answering on paper, so no matter what you do with the computer, they will have a hard copy of their answers and they will get credit for them. So don't worry about you messing this process up. So, the first thing that is going to happen is that hopefully it'll be the host, sets up the computers at the table. So when you as a proctor have been assigned your team and you sit down at the table to start your round, you need to go through a quick process to access the right forms for your round of the competition. This slide is going to cover the basics, but then the slides which follow it will show you exactly what you will see if you are doing it correctly. So, first of all, you'll have a handout at your table that looks like this. And you need to check to see if you were at the right table by looking at the sheet and in the table shown at the right. Now, we will have the host write down the name of the school, and they will write down a tab number for you. So if the school is Carmel High School and the tab number is 3, they'll have that written on the sheet for you as you begin. Now, you'll need to check for the correct school name and the tab number. You will then need to make sure that you can access the document. Now, hopefully, this is what the host will have done before you get to the table. We've left the directions here just in case one of the proctors would happen to close out the browser and you would have to get back into it. But we would like it if the hosts set up the initial contest round by opening up the internet browser. You type in Google Sheets in the URL window and you'll click on the Google Sheets sign-in link when it appears. If you have logged into the account that you need to log into, then it should have your rounds of competition ready to go on the screen. If not, you'll need to click in the upper right-hand corner of the browser screen and drop down to the correct login to the correct user for this particular competition. Now, if by chance, they have logged out, the host should have put your username and email login password here for you. If they are logged in already, you won't need that information. So that's just at the very beginning. Once we get down to your process here, once you're logged into the account, you should see all of the individual round scoring sheets. And then you'll just click on the round that you're about to proctor. You'll notice tabs across the bottom, and you'll click on that tab that corresponds with the number at the top of this sheet. So if you're proctoring Carmel High School and their tab number is 3, you go to tab number 3 at the bottom of the page and click on that, and that is the page that you will be using for the competition. Now, for instructions on finishing the round, you'll look at the bottom of the page, and there will be some things that you'll need to do at the end of every round as well. Don't worry, I'm going to tell you what to do in between setting up the worksheet and turning in your round at the end as well. So, before round 1, hopefully the coach has set it up. You just click on the round that you need. You open up that page. You find the number of the school that you are supposed to be proctoring. You click on the corresponding numbered tab, and you should be ready to go. We also have instructions here on the bottom of the page for the remaining rounds, just in case you're going to be doing the same thing each round. But we may have more than one proctor, and you need to have instructions for everybody. So make sure that if you are proctoring the first round, you leave these instructions at the table as well. And then when you finish the round, you will verify the score. You'll match the score on the electronic answer sheet to the paper score sheet that the contestants have written on. And then you're going to sign off on the fact that your score is correct. The captain will sign off on the fact that the score is correct. And then you need to log out of, or not log out, sorry. You need to click the icon for Google Sheets and go back to the list for the next rounds. Let me show you in the next slide what to do with that. So, what we have here in this particular competition, when you sit down at the table and you get to the right information, right, the list of subject areas that you are going to be proctoring should be up on the screen for you. Okay, all you will have to do at that point is to click on that document and open it up. Now, when you open up that document, you're going to do all of the scoring. I'll show you what that is like here in a moment. But after each round, at the end of each round, you will need to do some finishing work here. And what that means is you're going to use these 4 yellow boxes over on the right. That's the total score, tiebreaker 1, tiebreaker 2, tiebreaker 3, and you will use that to verify with the answer sheet what the correct answer is. Over here on the left is the top left portion of the Google Sheet that you will have. And at the beginning, you're going to verify that you're on the right sheet. But at the end, you'll need to click on this Google Sheets icon, which will take you back to this list at the top of the page. Once you have verified all of that and clicked out and put it into the next Google slide or Google Sheet form, then you are ready to go. So, what are you actually doing during the match itself? How do you score this using the Google Sheet? You know, I've explained how to set up the score sheets for the contest. Now let me explain how to use them during the contest itself. This slide will summarize the process, but then I will take you through it step by step and show you what you should see as you go along. So this is a basic summary of what the students and you will be doing during the reading and scoring of the questions. So during the question reading, remember the teams can non-verbally communicate. They can write on scrap paper, they can work on their calculator, they can enter answers on the answer sheet. After the reader says begin, teams may do all of the above, plus also speak to each other. Now, this is what's going to happen. When the time expires on the screen for the reader, there will be a red time's up slide. Okay? Before that red time's up slide appears, the students are going to circle the correct answer on their answer sheets. And then when that pencils up slide is revealed, you will enter what they show you as their answer in the correct red cell on the computer. After you have entered their answer in the red cell, you'll hit Tab. That tab will move you to the next correct spot. So do not hit Enter, hit Tab. Tab will then advance your cursor to the next available cell. The question reader will then reveal the correct answer. The computer screen in front of you is going to update automatically. Now, that's basically because you have a scorekeeper at another table entering the answer in the answer key, and they won't do that until everybody has entered an answer at the tables. So once that has updated, you will, as a proctor, mark the paper copy appropriately with a plus for a correct answer and a line drawn through the answer choice for an incorrect answer. At the end of the round, you will need to double check by calculating the scores on the paper copy. The team captain does the same thing. You are going to then calculate the tiebreaker scores on that and check that with the scoring screen. So the proctor and the captain will then sign off on the paper copy that everything is correct. So once you have the Google Sheet opened and have selected the proper tab at the bottom of the page, this is what you are going to see. You need to first verify under column A that the team name, their class, and the subject area round are the right ones for what you are proctoring this time. So when we look at this, we see that under column A, we have Rydell High School. We'll throw back to my day. Rydell High School is competing in Class 1, and the round that you are proctoring is Fine Arts. You'll notice also, so you have your team name, your class, and your subject area in that section. After the pencils up has been given, the red cell is where you enter the answer that the team gives you. Once the answer is entered, the cell background will turn white. That way you know you've actually entered the answer. Now, at this point, you'll notice a row of zeros above the red cells. Once the question has been scored, once the answer key is entered, your score will update, and you'll either still have a 0 if you got the answer wrong, or that score will turn to a 1 and that cell will turn green, indicating the right answer. Over on the right, you see the yellow cells. The yellow cells are the running total. Now, they keep a running total of the score and the 3 tiebreakers. So TB1, tiebreaker 1, tiebreaker 2, and tiebreaker 3. Now, until question 21, tiebreakers 1 and 2 will remain at 0. Tiebreaker 1 is question 21 through 25, how many they got right. Tiebreaker 2 is questions 23 through 25, how many they got right. And tiebreaker 3 should have material all the way through it because it keeps a running total of how many they get right in a row. And at the end of the contest, the largest number in a row that they get right will be their score for tiebreaker number 3. Here's a copy of a filled out answer sheet for this particular round. And what you need to understand is that after the correct answer is revealed, you also need to mark their paper copy as correct or incorrect. This is where you are going to do your grading. On the answer sheet, the electronic answer sheet, all you do is enter their score. On the paper answer sheet, you need to grade it as well as a backup. So if the student answered correctly, you as a proctor should just simply mark a plus to the left of the correct answers. Please, no check marks, no circles, nothing, just use a plus. If the students answered incorrectly, you should draw a line through the entire line of the response. Please don't draw the line through the answer spot at that point. It makes it difficult to read and figure out what's happening. If you look at this sheet, because the line is just through the A through D, it leaves that blank. It's much easier to count up your pluses and minuses and do so without making any errors. You'll need to then calculate the tiebreakers. If you look at the bottom of the sheet, you can see the tiebreakers. Total number of correct answers, they got 15, tiebreaker 1, tiebreaker 2, and tiebreaker 3. At the end of that process, you will then sign as the proctor. The team captain needs to verify that all 3 of the tiebreakers and the total score are correct and indicate that they are verifying that by also writing those answers in the answer blanks. And then the team captain will sign agreeing that the score is correct. So the proctor and the captain sign, you put your hand in the air, you wave the paper around, someone will come and get it, and then it's time to move on to the next round. Do not make any additional marks on the page, like marking what the right answer was. That only messes things up, and it makes it more difficult to verify that everything was done correctly. So this is what it should look like when your round is actually completed. If you'll notice again, up here we've got the team name in section A, team name, the subject area, the class. You'll notice that all of the red cells have now disappeared, and that is good at the end of the round. That means you've done your job, okay? And they've been replaced with a letter of the answer that you were shown by the contestant. If the answer given is correct, the 0 has turned to a 1 and the cell has turned green. If the answer is incorrect, it stayed white with a 0. The yellow boxes on the right keep a running total of the score and the 3 tiebreakers. You've got tiebreaker 1, 2, and 3 there as well. Now, if your screen doesn't match your answer sheet, make the needed change between questions or at the end of the round. Don't interrupt a question and process to discuss scoring issues. They'll still have the answer on paper. They're not going to lose the possibility of getting the answer right because the computer was messing up. So don't worry about that. Just do that in between. There are no appeals on the answers to the questions. All answers will stand as presented. If you feel an answer is wrong, you're encouraged to send a written appeal to the IASP office with documentation proving the answer wrong by 10 a.m. the morning after the contest. All written appeals will be shared with the original question writers, but scores will not be changed. Good luck tonight. Thank you for agreeing to proctor today's competition. Without volunteers like you, these events would not be possible. Thank you. Have fun.